Good shot, kid. I think you got him. Good shot, kid. I think you got him.
Hello there, and welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Today we're continuing our Let's Play, and this is episode 13. In today's episode, we are taking a look at the taxi driver side mission. A long-standing side mission, of course. We've done this in GTA 3 and Vice City, and now we're doing it in San Andreas. And San Andreas, fortunately, adds some improvements to this side mission. So, in the previous games, you had to do 100 fares. Admittedly, you didn't have to do them all in a row, you could have spread them out as long as you needed to. However, in this game, it has now been reduced down to 50, which is nice. Admittedly, some of the rewards aren't quite as cool as they were in the previous games, but 50 I will take over doing 100, which means this has taken less time than this usually takes. I believe in GTA 3 it took me about an hour and a half. In Vice City it was almost 2 hours of taxi. In this game it's still an hour, and trust me, we are going to speed up the footage. But yeah, it's not quite as bad in that regard. Another addition in San Andreas is the tip meter. Admittedly, I think this might have been in Vice City, but I don't remember ever doing taxi driver side missions without the zebra cab, and GTA Wiki says it was introduced for this game, so I'm going to pretend like it's a new feature. It's a new feature to us, because of course we didn't see it before. It's the tip meter. Essentially, the quicker you can get to a destination and the less damage you do to the car, the higher the tip you will get, and this can actually be worth a fair chunk of change. You can get about $200 out of some of these. Admittedly, they are quite hard to get within the tip meter depending on the location. Some of them can be an absolute bastard to try and get the tip for, so don't worry yourself too much with that one if you cannot get it, but it's something worth mentioning. So let's speed up the footage and I'll talk about the rest of Taxi Driver. Okay, so now we're at 20 times speed. Let's discuss the rest of Taxi Driver. So, good map knowledge is of course key. There is a map in the pause menu, which is useful, unlike in GTA 3, and fortunately San Andreas is easier to navigate than Vice City was, so it actually does make this easier. Of course, there's 3 cities, doesn't really differ too much depending on where you go. I believe San Fierro might be the shortest of all of them, because that's the one speedrunners use. I think it's technically the smallest city in the game, but, you know, doing it in Los Santos or doing it in Las Venturas, you don't really lose much by doing it. I haven't tried it in the countryside, although I would suggest that's probably a very, very long, drawn-out system, so I wouldn't really recommend that. So good map knowledge is, of course, key. Also, one thing there, unlike in GTA 3, if you damage the taxi too much, they don't bail out, they actually give you time to go repair it, although you will very likely lose your tips for that trip. Also, you might be hearing my PC in the background. I do apologise. It doesn't particularly like it when Vegas runs stuff at 20% speed, because it's having to render about, you know, 600 frames in a second. So yeah, it's not having much fun at the moment, but it'll look nice as soon as it comes out. Apparently I hit the pause menu there. Another thing to bear in mind for this is your choice of taxi. So there's 2 in the game. Of course, you can choose between the taxi and the cabbie. The taxi is front-wheel drive and offers very average statistics all around. Average speed, average acceleration. I'd say above average handling, because I do like the way front-wheel drive cars do drive in GTA games, and the cabbie is rear-wheel drive and offers slightly slower acceleration. I think it's very slightly quicker in terms of straight line speed and does offer more durability. So, you know, you pick which one you prefer. If you're a better driver, definitely go for the taxi. It's the quickest. If you think you're going to have more knocks, if you're not as confident in your driving, the cabbie is worth getting. Although, again, do remember, you don't have to do these all in a row. So if you decide later on that you'd rather switch to the cabbie or you'd rather switch to the taxi, then you can do that. As long as you keep track of the 50 in your head, and there is a statistics page for it as well, although as you can see in this I did it all in a row because it's an LP and I figured that'd be the best way of doing it. This isn't quite the great money-making method that it was in Vice City and in GTA 3. I find it actually provides a lot less cash. In these games, you don't get quite as good of an in a row bonus, and the pedestrians don't pay quite as much if you don't meet the tip meters. So do bear that in mind. There's definitely better side missions to grind out for money in the early games. And upon getting 50 fares, you do end up getting Nitro and hopping for all of the taxis, which we will show off in a minute, as we are very quickly coming to the end of this. There we are now on fare 49, and as we drop back down to normal pace and the PC gets to breathe a sigh of relief, here we go, about to drop off the final guy at the burger shot. Also, locations, I believe there's about 15-ish locations for each metropolitan area. You will eventually get a track of all of them. Some of them are a little bit harder to figure out, like the Sculpture Park, you might not know what that is. Observatory, you might not know what that is. So do bear that in mind. You can look up a full list of locations on the GTA Wiki if you need it. As you can see, we now have Nitro for all the taxis and hopping, and this is for every single taxi. It is applied as soon as you complete the side mission, which is pretty cool. The hopping, not very useful, but Nitro can be used to get across the city a little bit quicker should you steal a taxi, and combine that with the taxi's pretty decent stats all around, it's not a bad thing to go ahead and stick in the taxi, and it makes the cabbie a little bit quicker, accelerating as well. So that is it for the taxi driver side mission. Once again, thank you all very much for watching. Next time we're going to be taking a look at a side mission which is another returning one from both GTA 3 and Vice City, and still keeps its monetary potential. It is Firefighter next time, so join us for that. Until then, farewell.
Down, speeding all around. The naked 47 got the power and it's bound to move any mother that gets in my way. Just another power machine on the freeway. Riding with me, there's my MC homeboy. Knowing the rules ain't part of his program. Finding the right way around this map might be pretty hard cause he's fucked on crack. G, Grand Theft Auto.